Stack SATS show. Stack SATS show. The Stacks SATS show. I didn't realize how hard it was gonna be to say it. All right, let me get this music sorted out a little bit. There we go. The little background music on. And well, welcome to the show. First of all, you got a little oh, what's up, Leonard? Let's go. Leonard, you're my only friend. Welcome, Leonard. Thanks for chilling with me. Thanks for helping me out with the show. I appreciate it. I'm gonna do this every night. I know it's a big mission, but I feel passionate about this mission, Leonard. Gotta do it. So I had everything dialed in except for the video here. Dang it. There it goes. Close enough. Close enough for episode 1. Here we go. All right, Leonard, this is a dry run between you and I. Any comments, suggestions are welcome. Thanks for tuning in, and let's get the show rocking. Okay, completely new format. This is a completely new for me, so I appreciate you being here. If you're watching the replay, thanks for watching the replay. We're gonna be doing this every night, and here we go. Let's jump into it. Let me get this. Get my show notes ready. My show notes here. Let's see. So, what is the intro to the show? Hi, welcome to Stack SATS Show, your beginner-friendly guide to saving in Bitcoin. Intro. That's the intro to the show. Your beginner-friendly guide to getting started with saving in Bitcoin. So, yeah, I know it's challenging. There's a lot of stuff out there, and there's a lot of shows for people that already know Bitcoin and know how to get into it and understand it. There's not that many shows out there for people that are completely new to Bitcoin, and it's a big learning curve. It's a big step to get started, or to even know what's going on. You have to learn so much foundational knowledge that it can be challenging for somebody that's completely new to Bitcoin to understand it and learn it. It takes a long time to learn it, actually. So this show, the goal for me is to just start sharing, is to put a project together, which is saving in Bitcoin. So I'm gonna take let me just make sure I'm on track here with the way we're gonna do the show. So the show's called Stack SATS, right? The Stack SATS show. So stacking SATS is what people in the Bitcoin community refer to as the beginnings of saving in Bitcoin, the beginning of getting into Bitcoin, right? So let's start with what a SAT is. A SAT is short for Satoshi, and a Satoshi is the smallest unit of measure for a Bitcoin, right? So like a dollar has 100 cents, a Bitcoin has 100 million Satoshis. So that's 100 plus 6 zeros after that, right? So 100 million Satoshis are in one Bitcoin. So if you're able to accumulate 100 million Satoshis, then you in essence have a Bitcoin, right? It's a whole Bitcoin. So this is called Stack SATS show because we're stacking SATs. We're not worried about buying a whole Bitcoin, and that might be our target eventually to attain a whole Bitcoin, but you don't need to buy a whole Bitcoin at once. That's one of the big problems people have when they first hear about Bitcoin. They hear about it and they hear how much it costs, and they think it's outside of the reach, and they can't buy a whole Bitcoin, so therefore they're not into Bitcoin or not even interested in getting started into Bitcoin. But the thing is, you don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin when you get started. You can just buy some SATs, which is basically cents of a Bitcoin, or SATs of a Bitcoin. Okay, so now instead of saying my 2 cents when you're talking to your friends, you can say my 2 SATs. All right, so we know what a Satoshi is now, and we're going to refer to those as SATs. Actually, before we go into that, let me just tell you real quick where Satoshi comes from. Satoshi. So the person or group of people that invented Bitcoin named themselves Satoshi Nakamoto, right? And it's nobody knows who it is or who they are. They just created this white paper and the technology and got the coin started as a gift to like humanity, right? So it's a place for us to store wealth, to store value outside of the government run money, any government. into a Bitcoin system, into the Bitcoin system that is capped at 21 million Bitcoin. So there'll never be more than 21 million Bitcoin, which means your value is in a inflation resistant asset. Think of Bitcoin as an asset. Okay, but before I overwhelm you with too much knowledge, we're gonna ease into all that stuff throughout the show. Not in this episode, but in episodes going on. I'll have a couple minutes with you every day. And the goal of this show is just to show you how easy it is to start saving in Bitcoin, and that you don't have to start with the whole Bitcoin. You don't have to start with $10,000, $1,000, $100. You can start with something as little as $5, right? $1, just to understand the system, know how it works, and get your stuff sorted out so you can start to save in Bitcoin, the money that doesn't steal from you. Okay, that's the main purpose. I want you guys to understand that. Okay, all right. So the way we're gonna run the show is, did I get everything? Yes. So that now we know why we're stacking sats, what a sat is, and all right, good. So we know what it means to stack sats. It just means you're saving Satoshis. You're stacking Satoshis. You're saving them so that you can eventually get to a whole coin. If you don't get to a whole coin, no big deal, but you're still saving Satoshis, and that means you're off of zero, right? It's a good place to be. Okay. So throughout the show, throughout episodes in the future, we'll start nibbling away at the knowledge that you should know as a Bitcoin owner, as a Bitcoiner. We'll talk about self-custody. We'll talk about the importance of self-custody. We'll talk about how to do it. We'll talk about where to buy your coins, all that stuff that is, we'll just call it good Bitcoin hygiene. Okay, self-custody is super important when it comes to this stuff, and we'll talk about that in future episodes. Okay, but today it's just a quick intro of the show, and we're gonna do our first buy of Bitcoin for the show, and I'm gonna explain to you guys how we're gonna run the show going forward. Okay, today's episode might be a little bit longer than usual, but again, I'm gonna be here every night. I might do just weeknights, so Monday through Friday. We're gonna be here Monday through Friday, and 8:30 is the time I'm shooting for. Some days, like on Wednesdays, I might be a little bit later, maybe 9, but we will have a show every night for at least half an hour to an hour, okay, depending on how many questions we get at the end. All right, so what are sats? Okay, we've got that covered. Okay, so we're doing good progress. We're doing good progress. Okay, so we got sats, and we got what we're doing. Well, so let's introduce one of our first segments. We're gonna run this segment every time we do the show, and it's called the SATS strength segment. Here we go. Bam! We need to come up with some music for this, but there it is, a SATS strength indicator, or a SATS strength segment. And we're gonna jump into that right now. There it is. Here we go. So this indicator tells us that if you, at the current price of Bitcoin, if you spend $1, you can get about 3,714 Satoshis, right? So 0.00003714 Bitcoin. Okay, remember, a Satoshi is as good as a Bitcoin. Sorry, a Satoshi is Bitcoin. Okay, it's just not a whole Bitcoin. It's part of a Bitcoin. Okay, so it's not a separate coin. It's not a different network. It's part of the same network. Okay. So yeah, today's price, today $1 will buy you 3,714 Satoshis, and I'm just going to start noting this at the beginning of every episode so that we know what the progress has been. And I anticipate that the number of Satoshis you can buy with $1 will trend down as the dollar loses purchasing power relative to Bitcoin because of inflation. Then the amount of Satoshis you can buy for $1 should go down. Okay, this chart here is just a projection. All right, where is it? There we go. You see the mouse? There it is. So this here is just actual. Yeah, okay, so from here, then it goes into future projection. It's projecting it to go down, but we'll see what happens, right? I'll explain that. I'll explain why we expect for it to go down and all that good stuff in this episode. Okay. Or start to dig into it a little bit. I don't want to overwhelm you guys with too much information. But anyway, good. Keep watching. Stay tuned. If you have questions, we'll have a questions section at the end of the episode after the main content is delivered, and then we'll jump into that at the end of the show. Okay. All right. So this is the SAT strength index or SAT strength portion of the show. We check the strength of a Satoshi versus USD. At the moment, you can buy 2,714 Satoshis with $1. Okay. All right. Moving on to the next portion of the show. What do we have? We're going to talk about the strategy that we're going to use in this show. So stack SATs. We all know what stack SATs means now. If you still have questions about it, put it in the chat. See if I can find it. And then let's talk about what we're going to do for this show. Actually, before we talk about what we're going to do for the show, let's look at some information with let's keep talking about the SAT versus dollar value and why I think it's going to keep going down. Right, here we go. This is a chart of the U.S. money supply. It's the U.S. money supply M2, which doesn't include. It includes like real estate. Let's double check. I'm gonna see what it includes. What does the M2 money supply consist of? Okay, the M2 money supply consists of small denomination time deposits less than 100,000, less than individual. Oh, sorry, here we go. Money stocks. What does M2 money stock consist of? Here we go. It consists of money supply that includes cash, checking deposits, and other types of deposits that are readily convertible to cash, such as CDs. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about why we're stacking SATs. We're stacking SATs because the government, whether you're Republican or Democrat, doesn't matter, is printing money so fast that the money in your pocket, the money in your savings, loses value relative to the money supply. Okay, so this is the money supply in 2000. We're at about $4.73 trillion. That was all the money that existed in the world, or all of the US dollar that existed, right? And then we move over to, I'm gonna start scrolling this way, and you can see what's happening with the dollar. So from 2000 to 2012, we basically doubled the money supply. We basically doubled the amount of dollars in that exist, right? Based on the M2 supply indicator. And then we keep going. Look at that. Right, 20, look at that right there's 20, let's go 2000, let's go 2008. 2008 here was like when the banks were failing, and then we had the first bailouts, and that was just kind of like they printed a whole ton of money to bail out the banks. Mind you that every time the money supply goes up, your portion of that pie gets smaller as the pie gets bigger. Okay, that's just inflation. Okay, this is a way that you're being robbed of your wealth behind the scenes, and you don't even know what's happening. Look at that. Boom. We almost hit $22 trillion here in 2021. It's dropped a little bit because they're trying to crash, because they're killing the economy, but there's no, the amount of money the amount of debt we've racked up as a nation there's not enough money to pay that back. So they have to keep printing money. That's where they're debating over the debt ceiling, right? Anyway, it's not a trend that can easily be reversed. Okay, so every time a bank crashes, they bail it out. They just call it something different, right? And every time they do that, the amount of money, every time we send aid to a different country, that money that money gets created out of the thin air, right? And your portion of that pie gets smaller. So you lose purchasing power. Your money loses purchasing power. Even if you're saving your money in a mattress, that money is not safe from the value that money represents. Is not safe from the government printing more money and devaluing your portion of the pie. Okay, so that's why the premise of the show is a way to save in Bitcoin, right? So the money that you want to save for long term, save in Bitcoin. But if you don't want to save, if you're not sure about it, you just want to experiment with it. This is what I'm going to do. I'm already committed to saving in Bitcoin, but I wanted to run this show as a project to show my friends and family what potential Bitcoin has. Okay, this show is not for somebody that already knows what Bitcoin's all about. This show is for somebody that's new to Bitcoin and has questions. Okay, so that's the premise. That's why we're stacking SATs, because the dollar and any other government currency steals from you via inflation. Okay, all right, moving on. We're going to, where were we? Okay, so I feel like I came out of a trance. Okay, so that's okay. We're there. We're gonna go to SATS. Okay, we got that. Okay, perfect. Right, now let's talk about the strategy that we're gonna use in this show. This is not financial advice, first of all. Okay, this is for educational purposes only. You are responsible for researching this yourself. I just want to make you aware that this exists, and if I can be the inspiration for you to start to look into Bitcoin, great. You should never trust me or anybody that you see online telling you about how to invest your money. You should be doing your research. But if somebody mentions something that might be worth researching yourself, do it, check it out, and in the end, you're the one that has to decide whether you invest in it or not, or whatever. Okay, just know that this is for educational purposes only, and I'm not a financial advisor. Okay, good. All right, disclaimer out of the way. Here's how we're gonna run this experiment that is the Stack Sats show. Every night I'm gonna come on here at around 8:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I know if you can't watch, it's too late for you. I'm sorry, just watch the replay the next day. Okay, we're gonna be buying something that I would say might be very affordable for anybody. Okay, especially if you're one of those people that buys coffee every day, if you're one of those people that maybe buys a lotto ticket every day, maybe buys cigarettes every day. I know cigarettes are harder to quit, right? Cigarettes, cigarette weed, whatever you smoke. Maybe take a little bit of that money and invest it in the future. Okay, here's how we're gonna do it on the show. Here's how I'm gonna do it on the show. Do not follow along if you're not comfortable with this. This is only for the show. This is not advice for you to invest in any way. Okay, so I'm going to be buying $5 worth of Bitcoin every episode in what we call a dollar cost average scenario. Okay, it's called DCA. You might hear this term flying around. I DCA into Bitcoin, or I DCA into stocks. But we're gonna DCA into. I'm gonna DCA into Bitcoin. Okay, via buying portions of a Bitcoin, which are called Satoshis. Okay, so the DCA stands for dollar cost average, which means instead of trying to figure out when the Bitcoin is up and when it's down and when is a good time to buy and spending too much time kind of watching the charts, you forget about all that and you just commit to buying X amount, either daily, weekly, monthly, regardless of the price. Okay, and in the end, you end up buying sometimes a little bit high, sometimes a little bit low, but you'll average out to a good entry position, especially right now that Bitcoin is so low. Starting to DCA right now is good because it's lower than it's been in a long time. Okay, so what we're gonna do for the show is we're gonna DCA $5 of Bitcoin each night, Monday through Friday. So DCA, we're DCAing on the show every time the show is on. And that's 5 times a week. So about 25 bucks. About 25 bucks a week. About 25 bucks a week. So that would be like a DCA, a daily DCA. But we're gonna change ours up a little bit. When our average buy price is when the current price of Bitcoin is below our average price of our average buy price, then we're gonna double. So instead of spending $5 that day, we're gonna do $10. Okay. If our average DCA amount is above, if the price of Bitcoin is above our average DCA amount, then we're only gonna DCA $5. Okay. So our average buy number, if Bitcoin is below our average buy number, we're gonna DCA twice the amount. If it's above our average DCA number, then we're just gonna do our regular DCA, which is $5. Okay, so it's either $5 or $10, depending on the price of Bitcoin and what our average buy-in has been so far to date. Okay, tonight, since it is our first buy, I'm gonna buy just $5 worth, and we're gonna track this on I have a Google Sheet for it. We're gonna track this on a Google Sheet. It's gonna show the date we bought it. It's gonna show the price I bought it at. It's gonna show how much Bitcoin I actually got in SATS, right? I'm gonna show the Bitcoin amount and the SATS amount. So let's, let's actually get into that right now. Let's just jump into it. I'll show you the spreadsheet, and we can get going. And real quick, let me just check the chat. There's nobody else here. All right, here we go. So we got browser. Yes, here it is. Okay. So let's see if I can share the screen. Let's jump into the, okay, so this segment is going to be a segment that we keep doing on the show. And we're going to call this segment the Stack Sats. Stack Sats segment. So in the Stack Sats segment, we actually go ahead and buy Bitcoin. Okay, today we're going to buy $5 worth. Here we go. Right. Let me get this browser shared. There we go. All right. Here's our spreadsheet for stacking Sats. I just put this in because I wasn't sure what the price was, but I built out the form. Here's the form. Today's the 22nd, and I haven't actually bought yet. So when I buy, I'm gonna populate this field. Let me get that buy thing going. Let me get my buy set up right here. I'm not gonna show you the buy process because I'm not sure what the security implications, but I am gonna buy it. Let's see what the price of Bitcoin is right now. We're gonna go with the feeling. There we go. All right. So Bitcoin is, let's see, we are in a chart that shows you a daily candle. Bitcoin is about 27,388. How much it's worth right now? So we are going to place a buy order, and then we're gonna put a line here on the chart with with our first buy. See what the going up right now. This is a 5-minute chart. Again, we're buying high, but it doesn't matter. When we hit we should try to buy it. We should try to buy it at a consistent time. You know what? I'm not gonna get caught up in the charts because that's the whole point. We're not looking at the charts going up and down. We're just gonna buy where we can. So 27.36. We do 27.60. It's a round number. $5 worth at 27.36. The buy went through at here 27.360. Makes a different color so it's easier to see. You guys see that pretty good? I'm going to put a label on this. Next, say first DCA just $5. Boom. All right. So there it is. That is our first buy Bitcoin. We're gonna populate the form like the daily. So that's where we bought our first. That's where we bought our first $5 worth of Bitcoin. Now, what does that translate to? Let's see. What does that translate to? Browser. Here. Okay. That translates to, what was the price? $27,360. Okay. We got much Bitcoin for that. We put in $5. We got 0.00018. We got about copy that. Put it here. Oops. So we got 18,000 Satoshis for $5. We got 18,000 sats for $5, and the current value of it, even though we spent $5, is about $4.93. I think it's an issue with the. No, it says initial position. So it, instead of buying $5 worth, I only bought $4.92 worth. I don't know why it does that. I'll have to pad it a little bit next time to just so it's a flat 5. So we're actually up us penny. Okay, so now this average will change as we add more buys. Okay, so today's buy is here. Tomorrow's buy will be 5.23. And who knows what the price will be, but we'll pretend it's 27. Just say it's 27. Let's say it dropped. Okay, and that'll change the average price over here. See. So if tomorrow the price is below 27,360, then we'll buy $10 worth. Okay, if it's above 27,360, then we'll just buy $5 worth, and we'll keep stacking them sats. Okay, these are the sats that we're stacking right here. Let's make this red so it's more stacky. That's too bright. That's annoying. There we go. The SATs. Okay, this is what's important. The SATs. Okay. So we have 18,000 SATs. That is our stack of the day. We stacked SATs today. Congratulations. What else do we have? Let's see. Go back to my notes. Oh, it feels good. Feels good to be stacking SATs, boys. Ladies and gentlemen, feels good to be stacking SATs. Okay. Where's my notes? All right, cool. All right, we covered what a SAT is. We covered why we stack SATs. We covered a little bit of why how the dollar steals your value, steals your purchasing power by printing. How the government steals your purchasing power by printing more money. So any money you have in dollar is subject to inflation, and that wealth that Leonard, for me there isn't a transaction. Well, let's do questions. I'm gonna do the questions, guys, in the chat. I know it's just you, Leonard. I'm gonna do the questions at the end of the show. So we're gonna wrap this show up, and then we're gonna do questions after the end of the show. Okay. So we did that. We did what is DCA, dollar cost averaging. We did that. If you have any questions about that, put it in the chat. We'll cover it again in the Q&A section. We did the DCA strategy for the Stack Sats show, which is buying $5 worth of Bitcoin every day, or buying $10 worth of Bitcoin every day if the price of Bitcoin is currently below our average buy-in price. For the cost of a coffee every day, you could be stacking SATs too. Okay. I shared the spreadsheet with you guys, let you know how we're gonna keep track of our purchase, our Bitcoin purchases, our Bitcoin stack, our SATs stack, and we'll be showing you that every day that we stack. So we're gonna be stacking here Monday through Friday. We did our first BTC buy. Was successful. We're starting the whole show off with 18,000 SATs. That's 18,000 Satoshis. That's 0.00018 Bitcoin. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it's not zero, which is a lot more than zero. Okay. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. If you did, hit that subscribe button, like on your way out. If you have questions, we're going to end the show. We're going to continue after the show, some Q&A. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Okay. Stack Sats. All right, we're gonna let this thank you screen show up for a little bit. You guys can subscribe, and then we're gonna jump into some questions here for the Q&A section. I just want to be able to let people watch the show all the way through, and then we'll do questions at the end. That way, if people don't want to watch the Q&A section, they can just watch until the screen. All right, here we go. Jumping into Q&A real quick. And Leonard, thanks for humoring me. Thanks for adding questions. I appreciate that. All right, here we go. Question from Leonard. iOS is a transition. Is there a transaction fee? Cool. There usually is a transaction fee when you buy the Bitcoin. There is. If you're buying it, for me, I trade so much. Not trade, but for me, I buy Bitcoin so often, and I was trading it before, but now I just buy it. That my transaction fees are really low, to non-existent. I think at this point I don't have any transactions. But there are usually transaction fees when you convert dollars to Bitcoin. So I was wondering if that's why it wasn't full. Yeah, no, it wasn't a full $5 because the program I use sometimes it rounds it off to make it an even 18,000 sats. So that's interesting. Like it shows me the entry price buy was at 27,360, and then price with exchange fees is 27,360. So there wasn't an exchange fee. Usually with this exchange, they don't charge for BTC to USD pair transactions, exchanges. But anyway, the Bitcoin has been bought. The Satoshis are there. And yeah, pretty crazy. We're doing this every night, guys. Every night. Tell your friends, learn about Bitcoin. Tomorrow we're gonna cover maybe I don't know what we'll cover tomorrow, but for sure we'll be here. We'll do the stat strength check, and then we'll jump into a little bit of back and forth and talking about something specific, something new that you don't know possibly, and then we'll jump into the actual. We'll stack some sats. We'll do the buy. We'll see what the price is then. If we're below the average, then we'll buy $10 worth. If we're above the average, we'll buy $5 worth. We're gonna keep going. In the end, that sheet will be able to show us our average. Like we'll be able to see how many dollars we spent on it, and then how many dollars is worth after some time, right? So the experiment we're gonna run today, we're gonna run it for maybe 30 days, and then depending on the audience, depending on the listenership, depending on how things go, we might go past the 30 days, but for sure I'm gonna try to do 30 days. 30 days of DCA. That's it. That's all I got for you guys. Once again, Leonard, thanks again for tuning in. Leonard, thanks for your help. Let's go. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. You guys have a good night, and SATS. Later.